As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder.
Good morning and welcome to Senate Education. I would ask everyone to turn their cell phones to vibrate or silent. If you plan on testifying today, please make sure to sign in at the back of the room. If you have handouts, please distribute those through the pages. Lobbyists, please make sure you are wearing a badge and that badge is clearly visible. I'd like to welcome to everyone listening to us online. Lastly, a reminder that all testimony questions should be directed through the chair. At this time, I would have the secretary call the roll.
Senators Marty,
Here.
Nelson, Peterson excused, Sauter, Smith, Voigt,
Here.
Shanefish.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Motion by Senator Voigt, second by Senator Nelson. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, nay. The motion carries. This time, I would ask the pages to come up and introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what your future plans might be.
Hi, my name is Olivia Moffitt. I'm from Hot Springs High School, and my future plans are to go into law school for business law specifically, and I'm really excited to be here with all of you, by the way.
Oh, great. We're happy to have you here. Thank you. Are there any personal privileges at this time? All right. Seeing none, we will move into our calendar. First,
You want the other page?
oh. Just introduce yourself, where you're from, any future plans, any fun facts.
Hi, I'm Layla Williams. I'm a senior at Hill City High School, and after high school, I plan to attend Flagler College in St. Augustine, Florida, majoring in political science, and then get a law degree somewhere.
Sounds like we had similar testimony from both of the pages. Interesting, but all right. Enter our agenda. First on the executive appointment list, hopefully I pronounced the names right, we have Tanya Wercheska of Union County, Jefferson, South Dakota, to the Board of Education Standards, who would take proponent testimony.
Chairman Shanefish, members of the committee, thank you for providing the time this morning for the consideration of confirmation of 3 board members to the South Dakota Board of Education Standards. The BOES is the state board given the task of approving the content standards for reading, language arts, mathematics, social studies, science, and all the rest. The BOES members are an interesting combination of professional K-12 educators, professional post-secondary educators, business people, and others from all walks of life. These varied backgrounds are, I am convinced, the strength of the board. What we want is people with a range of backgrounds in which they have been highly successful. Which brings us to the first of today's gubernatorial nominees, Tanya Wercheska. Dr. Wercheska began her career as an elementary teacher in 1998, moving on to the assistant principalship in 2013 in T, and the director of curriculum, instruction, and assessment a year later. In that role, she distinguished herself as a student achievement data analyst who could carry that expertise forward to inform school improvement. In 2021, she accepted the superintendency of the Dakota Valley School District, one of the youngest school districts in the state. Her accomplishments included the design and implementation of a new crisis management response plan and her leadership with the 2024 flood cleanup for her district, a natural disaster which resulted in $850,000 in damages, and which required high-level coordination with FEMA, engineers, contractors, and emergency personnel. As a result of her work, school at her school was opened up in safe buildings and on time in the fall of 2024. Earlier this year, Dr. Wercheska accepted the superintendency of the T School District, a district growing by leaps and bounds. There, she led the completion and on-time opening of a $39 million high school expansion, including a 1,200-seat performing arts center within the first 6 weeks of her superintendency. In 2023, 2024, and 2026, she represented her colleagues in Area 2 for the South Dakota School Superintendents Association Delegate Assembly. And in an interesting twist, Dr. Wercheska has also served on the South Dakota High School Association Esports Advisory Committee from August 2024 to the present. So if you've ever been interested in just what esports involve, especially at a sanctioned level, here's your chance to ask. She brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise on the reality of South Dakota schooling to the BOES, she has now served on since last April. And I would encourage you to confirm her appointment now to that body, and with the chair's permission, I would ask her to come and give a few remarks at this point.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Dr. Wercheska.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you this morning. My name is Tanya Warzeka, and I am the superintendent of Tea Area School District. I'm incredibly honored and grateful to Governor Roden for this appointment and the confidence that he placed in me. If confirmed, I'll serve with a student-first focus and a strong respect for public trust, which is how I've always served in my 30 years in education. I understand that the Board of Education standards work includes setting statewide expectations that impact school accreditation, graduation requirements, educator standards, content standards, and I don't take that work lightly. Our children are depending on us. Growing up just a few miles down the road in Highmore, I know what it's like to be in a small public school and a small town in South Dakota, and working and serving in a larger school district in Tea and Dakota Valley. I also know what it's like to be in a larger school district. Serving on this board, I'll keep students in every zip code in mind when asking questions and making decisions. Thank you for taking the time this morning to consider my appointment. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Is there any further proponent testimony? More?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Rob Munson, Executive Director, School Administrators of South Dakota. Not only am I honored to be a colleague of Dr. Warzeka's, but certainly a good friend. It is very important to have an educator voice, I believe, on the Board of Education standards, bringing that day-to-day real practical look at the decisions that are being made. Many deserving peoples, but I can't think of anyone more so than this appointment today, so we hope you move it forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there proponent testimony? Is there any more proponent testimony? Seeing none, is there any opponent testimony? Any opponent testimony? Seeing none, we'll waive the rebuttal. Questions from the committee?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Peterson.
Thank you. For Dr. Zinke, please. Thanks for being here. I have a couple questions, Mr. Chair, but first, and I think maybe most importantly, in your professional opinion, what are the factors that have impacted South Dakota's students' poor NAEP scores?
Mr. Chair, I think that our students do well in a lot of areas, and I think that currently, COVID had a lot to do with our students' performance. I think that children are working hard in a lot of areas. I think that our home life has a lot to do with it too. We have to be working, we have to be reading at home, we have to be reading all of the time. We have to be involved in a lot of areas to be successful. I think that there are a lot of components to that. It's a more complicated issue than what I could answer here today, ma'am.
Follow up. So you, if I hear you right, you're saying it's outside factors, it's COVID, it's home life. I didn't hear you say anything you thought the schools might be able to do better or differently.
Oh, I think that Mr. Chair, I think there are a lot of things that we can do. I think that it is a complicated issue, Senator. I think that there are things that we can look at. I think that there are curriculum issues. I think that there are instruction issues. I think that there are pieces that we can take into consideration. But across the board, we have 147 school districts, and sitting here today without looking at data, without considering every child, there's no way I can answer that.
A couple other questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, a couple more.
Thank you. The social studies standards have just been implemented, and I'm curious about what your opinion of those is and how that's going.
I think that we are across the state doing a good job implementing them. We're in the first year. We're working very hard to use the curriculum that's been in place. For example, at Tierra, we have implemented it very successfully. The teachers have done a great job with it. The children are responding very well to it.
And one additional question. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so what do you view as your role and responsibilities on the Board of Education Standards?
Mr. Chair, I think that my role is to listen to the people of South Dakota. It's to listen to what they are telling us about the children, about what we need in our schools, to listen to the teachers, to listen to what we need to do for education, to listen to what we need to think about for the future of our schools, and to prepare our students for success in the future, and to ensure that our standards, to ensure that our teachers and our schools are successful.
Mr. Chair, one final one. May I
Okay,
please?
I think-
Thank you.
yes, go
Thank you.
ahead.
I just, her answer made me think of another one. So it is the Board of Education Standards. So can you describe your experience in evaluating standards, writing standards, anything in that area that relates to that responsibility that you would have on the board?
Sure, Mr. Chair. In my previous position at Tierra School District, I was the Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment. And so my role in that position was to ensure that our curriculum at that district met the state standards. And so I analyzed the standards and analyzed the curriculum that we adopted to ensure that everything we were teaching met the standards. And so in our role there, our committees laid out the standards. We analyzed the curriculum choices that we had. We walked through each of the pieces of curriculum that we were looking at. We looked for all of the standards that our South Dakota Board of Ed adopted. Then we made sure that each of the pieces that we were looking at had those standards in them to the depth of knowledge that we teach, to make sure that each piece that we were looking at to adopt would meet our needs.
All right, yep, thank you. Any further questions from the committee? Senator Smith.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here today and taking time away from already super hectic life. We're glad you're here. I would love to hear about your vision of what this board could do and where you'd like it to go.
Mr. Chair, I think that this board is a very important board for our students in South Dakota. It impacts our educators and it impacts our students. Right now we're looking at the health standards and the math standards. Just this week we had a meeting and on our agenda we looked at the CTE possibilities for CTE teachers, new teachers to be able to be licensed. And we know that that's really important to be able to have CTE teachers in our schools. And it's a hurdle to be able to get teachers licensed for that. And so we were presented with, and I presented with a plan to have different licensing options. And it's an impactful way for us to be able to have an impact on our schools to bridge that hurdle. And so one of the ways that our board can have a real impact on that is to be able to help with those situations. My vision for that is to help schools bridge those hurdles that we have in the real life.
Okay, thank you. Senator Voigt.
If I could. Thank you for being here, Doc. We aren't familiar with each other, but we've been down the same road. Small school, big school, and a big one now. What's your perspective in terms of sitting on the board of standards in terms of what I would call the real challenge right now? Not necessarily in terms of content or the vehicle to get that content, but the actual verification of student demonstration of proficiency or knowledge base. Do you see the board being engaged in that process in terms of what the expectations are for students as they proceed through the K-12 system, especially academically?
Mr. Chair, may I ask a clarifying question? So do you mean in respect of the board being part of the assessment process, like performance criteria, or could you explain a little more?
If I could follow up.
Yes, go ahead.
The example what you use is, I think, Smarter Balance was used basically K-12, high schools, ACTs, SATs. Do you see that there is a way, a vehicle, that we could look at all students on the same assessment process in lieu of what's being used and it's being scattered all over the landscape right now?
I think there's a possible, Mr. Chair, I think there's a possible avenue for that. However, the scope of the board is such that it's not there right now, right? It's educator standards, content standards, certification, and it's very specific in law right now. And so in order for it to go beyond that, we would have to look at it differently, I think. The work of the board has to stay very specifically within its role.
Last follow-up. Thank you for your patience. Do you see that responsibility expanding on that board in lieu of perspectives like practitioners like you?
I think that our board can have recommendations as we look at the scope of it and as we see the impact of standards and education in a broader sense. You know, the state boards in other states operate much differently than the South Dakota Board of Education Standards. The board in South Dakota doesn't have as much depth as other states do. Making recommendations and doing studies is something that our board could possibly do, and taking a look at the assessment viability is something that we could study and make recommendations towards, and it may have some weight to it.
All right, thank you. Any further questions from the committee? Seeing no further questions from the committee discussion and/or action. I have a motion for due pass from Senator Sauter, second by Senator Smith, to confirm the nomination of Tanya Warzecha. Comments on the motion?
I just believe we have an excellent candidate here, and I appreciate your willingness to serve in this capacity and what you do for the children of South Dakota. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a substitute motion. I would move that we defer action on the approval of new nominees until our meeting on March 2nd.
Comments on that motion?
Yes, mostly it's probably on me just because of the time we are in session, and I've not had a chance to get to know the nominees or do much research or anything, and this is these are highly important positions, and I think these candidates are probably well qualified, but when I vote, and I hope I can vote yes for them, I want to do so with a resounding yes. So I would just like a little more time to get to know them and to do a little bit of research. Thank you.
Okay. Seconded by Senator Nelson. Further comments from the committee on that motion? Senator Smith.
I'm going to resist this motion. This person was brought forward by the Department of Education, supported by teachers as a highly regarded professional in the field of education in the state of South Dakota, and I don't believe waiting on this is appropriate. I think we're here today to make a decision, and so I resist this motion.
Yes, I would agree. I mean, the agenda was set Thursday. The governor's nominated her to the board, I mean, a fair amount of time ago. This is following the same process as numerous other committees have for executive appointments. I think we have the information we need. Any further comments from the committee?
I could.
Senator Voigt.
Yes. My perspective is from a practitioner's perspective in this individual's a field professional who's been down the road, if you'll excuse that. The conversations that I've had with her this morning would indicate that she's an asset, and we need to tap that asset in that committee.
Yeah, thank you. The current motion is to defer action. Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Marty?
Aye.
Nelson? No. Peterson?
Aye.
Sauter?
No.
Smith?
No.
Voigt?
No.
Shanefish?
No.
Mr. Chair, we have 3 yea, 4 nay.
Motion fails. That we will revert to the previous motion on due pass. Further comments on the motion? Seeing none, the secretary will call the roll.
Senators Marty?
Aye.
Nelson?
Aye.
Peterson?
No.
Sauter?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Voigt?
Aye.
Shanefish?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, we have 6 yea, 1 nay.
Motion carries. Up next on the agenda, we have Gregory Von Wald of Pennington County, Rapid City, South Dakota, to the South Dakota Board of Education Standards. Mr. Secretary, proponent testimony.
Chairman Shanefish, members of the committee, thank you for this opportunity to testify on behalf of the governor's nomination of Mr. Greg Von Wald of the South Dakota Board of Education Standards. My name is Joe Graves, Secretary of Education. To be brief, I'm proud to know and to have been associated with Greg over the last 2 decades or so. Greg Von Wald is a retired lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps who led troops in battle in Desert Storm, which liberated the Kuwaiti people and crushed the Iraqi military forces in the process. Upon his retirement from the Marines, though I'm reliably told that none never actually retires from that corps, he became a highly successful technology entrepreneur in our state. It was at the conclusion of that second career that I interviewed and hired him to accept the presidency at Mitchell Technical College. During his tenure there, Greg oversaw the construction of the new Mitchell Tech campus off I-90. He established working partnerships with industry in which he supported the creation of fully 8 new programs and the renovation of existing programs to meet industry needs. He established working relationships as well with K-12 education leaders that supported the establishment of viable technical education programs in high schools and pathways for their students to post-secondary technical education programs. He increased the student population at MTC by 120%. He also ran the Amendment R campaign that resulted in the establishment of the South Dakota Board of Technical Education. His experience at MTC demonstrates his competence as an educator and the unique perspective he will bring to the BOES due to his comprehensive understanding of the tech colleges in South Dakota, one of the major recipients of our K-12 students upon their graduation. Additionally, Mr. Von Wald holds a master's degree in history from Iowa State University and a master's in international studies from the Naval War College. Greg lives just outside of Rapid City area with his wife of 53 years, a delightful woman with seemingly inexhaustible patience. I would ask you to please give your favorable consideration to Mr. Von Wald's nomination to the Board of Education Standards, and with your permission, I would ask him to speak at this point.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'm very honored to be nominated by the governor for this position. Take it very seriously. I think I can bring to the Board of Education Standards a perspective from industry and from career and technical education. One of the things that my goal is to make sure that our students are educated not just for education purposes, but educated to be good citizens and productive citizens of this state and of this nation. And so with that, I'll conclude my remarks.
All right, thank you. Any further proponent testimony?
Mr. Chair, Rob Munson, I'm removing my badge for this testimony. Mr. Von Wald and I do not know each other very well. However, we both wore the uniform of the United States government. 36 years ago to today was the start of the ground war during Desert Storm. I was in the 730th Medical Unit, one of the first to advance across the Iraq border, so I look forward to having conversations about our service in that conflict. It's too bad he wasn't good enough to be in the Army and ended up in the Marines, but we'll forgive him for that. I am sure he will bring an incredible level of leadership to the board, and I highly recommend his appointment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, and thank you both for your service. Further proponent testimony? Any more proponent testimony? Seeing none, is there any opponent testimony? Any opponent testimony? Seeing none, we will waive the rebuttal and move into committee questions. Questions from the committee.
If I could, Mr. Von Wald. Your commitment to not only the exit process of education, but the implications of application, meaningful application. You currently are heavily involved on the east side of the state. There's also an entity on the west side of the state called Western Dakota Tech. If you were to walk into that setting, what changes would you see need to be made to address those students on that west side of the state?
Mr. Chairman, that's a good question. I am not actively involved with Western Dakota. I want you to know that. But from a distance, from my perspective, I think the greatest challenge that they have is re-engaging industry to support them. And if you re-engage industry, you're going to not only have the funding to get the materials and get the machines that you need to bring your level up to a current industry standard, but helps bring in young men and women into the programs that are interested in it, because they'll have internships and things like that that'll help.
Could follow up. On the west side, you know that we currently have neighbors to the north and to the south that have a need for support in terms of taking care of that oil industry and the coal industry. How would you see engaging that in curriculum, in development, to have young men and women to go out in that field and be productive?
Mr. Chairman, so this is not an unfamiliar thing for me because I started 8 programs there. The first one was the WIND program, and very similar to what you're talking about with energy. Excuse me. And even though that there are mature industries out there versus the wind industry, they have the same needs, and it simply is a matter of meeting executive and starting the conversation going and finding out what the needs of the industry are. That's where it all starts, and from there, then it becomes a partnership. And from the partnership, that's when you start the recruiting, building of the program, and both the oil industry and the coal industry are very similar in that regard.
Yeah, thank you. Any further questions from the committee? Senator Nelson.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Being on this board, what do you see are your role and responsibilities? And I guess whenever I get put on a board or something like that, I always have goals. Like I have something I really want to see accomplished. So I just was wondering, what do you see as roles, responsibilities, and what goals or what goal do you have?
Mr. Chairman, so my goal is broad in the fact that it's all of our students that concern me, not just those with career and technical educations, but I have a passion for that because I came from industry and I came from a technical college where that was our mission. And to be quite frank with you, the United States and South Dakota have allowed our focus on career and technical education to lack or to drag behind, and there needs to be a way to bring that back up, because without that, you don't get your toilets fixed, you don't get your electricity fixed, and you don't get anything manufactured, and that's what creates the industry that we need in South Dakota and in the United States. So that's my passion. So probably more of a, and that's my background, so there's probably more of a focus for me on that. And that is just a reflection of how do you prepare children for adult life and for a productive life after they graduate from high school. And are they prepared for college? Are they prepared to be a good citizen? Are they prepared to go into a workforce? And so that's kind of my broad view of the situation.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just because I have a sister who teaches math, what are your thoughts on the new math standards or in the social studies that have been implemented this year?
So I used to be good at math. Okay, I am sorry, Mr. Chair. As we're in the process right now of going through we've had the third hearing now on the math standards. The good thing about this for me, and this is my first shot at sitting on a board that approves these standards, right? So as I go through it, I listen to and I read the comments from those in industry or from those that have a math background much greater than I do. What heartens me is that we have already, the Secretary's staff has already changed some of those standards to reflect what is coming in from the outside, from the math experts, on what needs to be done. Now, are all of them going to be accepted? No, they're not. But the process that it's going through, I'm very heartened by how that's taking place. So, and other than that, I'm not qualified to speak more on math.
All right, thank you. Further questions from the committee?
Mr. Chair?
Senator Peters.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I remember 36 years ago, it was one of those times that you always remember where you were when we got the news that, we'd gone into Iraq. So thank you very much. I'm just wondering, in your experience as president of MTI, did you feel that the students were well prepared? And if so, how? And if not, how not? And how can we do better? What do we need to do better?
Yes, Mr. President. That is an excellent question. That really is kind of at the heart of what I was trying to convey when I said I want to see our children prepared for careers and education, not just for education purposes alone. And so what I felt is that there was about a 10% of the students that we received were not prepared. And there was a number of reasons, not all of which have to do anything with education, but much more of in the personal realm. And there were ways that we worked with those students to help bring them up to a standard where they could perform and succeed. But again, we were not successful at all of those. But part of, I believe, my mission on this board is to really ensure that those holes are being filled by K through 12, and I believe for the Regents it is the same way.
All right, thank you. Further questions from the committee? Senator Voigt.
Thank you. We're talking about standards, and that's what this board is about, standards, and I've had some conversations with the secretary about that. It's great to have standards, but there needs to be a measure somehow in terms of the efficacy or the effectiveness of those standards. How do you see an opportunity to perhaps address that on the board in terms of what its basic purposes, in terms of identifying standards and not having the latitude to verify or adjust what needs to be done so those kids can be effective?
Mr. Chairman, you know, I know exactly what you're talking about, and it isn't just on the K through 12 level. It's on the post-secondary level that we struggle with the same problems, right? Now are you going to throw the SAT out? Are you going to throw the ACT out and go without it? I mean, it just keeps flowing back and forth. And to be quite frank with you, I believe much of that is politically based and not based on good hard facts. I would love to see one set of standards that goes across the board and works for everybody. I don't know if it's possible for us to change that. But I do know that the Secretary has briefed us on a number of changes that have been made in the standards along the way, and that make good sense. Now the question is, you know, do you have two sets of standards or do you have multiple sets? And one of the other things is, how do we measure ourselves? And we measure ourselves now against each other, both state-wise and within the state, and that's a good measure. But there's also got to be a measure, I believe, where what about the standard of what is expected of you from industry, what is expected of you from beyond secondary education, and are you prepared for that? And so I don't know that we have a good measure for that at this point. I'd like to see that. Thank you.
Any further questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, we will move into committee discussion and/or action. Senator Smith.
Mr. Chair, I move due pass.
Motion for due pass from Senator Smith, second by Senator Sauter. Comments on the motion?
Well, again, I thank you very much for taking the time to do this and to consider this appointment, because as a retired person, you wouldn't have to do something like this, and I appreciate that a lot. I think this is a good example of the balance on this board when we have a person that's super talented, super accomplished in so many things, and to give that balance to the board it's good for the state and it's good for the people of South Dakota.
All right, thank you. Further comments from the committee? Senator Voigt.
If I could, I really sincerely appreciate stepping forward, because obviously education is a priority in this state, and right now the perception is that that priority isn't being taken care of at the level the general public would expect. And so we need some real sincere perspective in terms of how we can achieve that, where we can go. And I appreciate that. Footnote, I think we have something in common, as was indicated before from a previous Army person. I happen to be at that level too as an infantry sergeant. So I think we have some perspectives in terms of what you need to do to see that the job gets done. And I appreciate you being here.
All right, thank you. Seeing no further comments from the committee, Senator Peterson. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I think Mr. Von Welt is a very well-qualified candidate, as I do believe Dr. Warzenka is. My concern is just that we just haven't had time. I mean, and I would just like to get to know these folks better. And I think that I think it's really important that we take into consideration the mission of the Board of Education Standards, and that they need to be a very active board. They need to not be a rubber stamp. They need to have regular meetings. They need to be very involved in setting the agenda and working on projects. And I think that's not been true in the past, and I think that Dr. Graves is working on improving that, and I would like to see more of that continue. So just out of consistency and out of lack of enough time on my part, I will be resisting the motion, but it's not a reflection at all of my my view on whether or not these candidates are qualified, but it's just to make that point. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further comments from the committee? Seeing none, the secretary will call the roll.
Senators Marty?
Aye.
Nelson? Aye. Peterson?
No.
Sauter? Aye. Smith? Aye. Voigt?
Aye.
Shanefish?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, 6 yea, 1 nay.
Motion carries. Up next on our agenda, we have executive reappointments. First up is Camp Meyer, Pennington County, Rapid City, to the South Dakota Board of Education Standards. Mr. Secretary.
Chairman Shanefish, members of the committee, thank you very much. My name is Joe Graves, Secretary of Education. Dr. Rich Myers is up for reappointment. He's already served for 4 years. He is a native South Dakotan, born in Volga and raised in Arlington. After graduating from USD, he attended Loyola University Chicago College of Dental Surgery. He served out his orthodontic residency at the University of Missouri in KC. He served the United States Army for 9 years, leaving for civilian life in 1981. After 40 years as an orthodontic specialist in Rapid City, he retired in 2021. His wife, Gayla, and he have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. His family is loaded with educators. A grandfather who was a professor of math and science at Northern University. His mother, a special education and first grade teacher. Gayla holds a master's degree in early childhood education, and they have a daughter-in-law who is also in education. When first approached about a BOES appointment, he expressed interest because he wanted to ensure the South Dakota children have the best possible chance of achieving success in life. As I said, Dr. Meyer has already served 1 term on the Board of Education Standards. During that time, he has demonstrated a tireless commitment to the board. He's engaged in thoughtful and meaningful public discussions of important educational issues, and he's been unafraid to wade into controversy when doing so was, to him, in the best interest of South Dakota students. And so at this time, I would ask you to recommend to the full Senate approval of the governor's renomination of Dr. Rich Meyer to the BOES. One caveat here, I called Dr. Meyer at 7:15 this morning to make sure that he was connected and everything else, and he is in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is on Central Time, so it shouldn't have been an issue. He found, when I called, he was in the middle of a family medical emergency. And so he was on the way to the hospital, and unfortunately he cannot be here this morning to testify, and I do apologize for that. Costa Rica is obviously a difficult place to make connection at this point. And even if he could make connection at this point, which he probably could, truth is he's got bigger fish to fry right now. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, and the committee wishes him all the best in emergency. Further proponent testimony. Is there any more proponent testimony? Seeing none, we'll move into opponent testimony. Is there any opponent testimony? Seeing none, there's no need for rebuttal. Committee questions. Senator Peterson.
Mr. Chair, are we ready for action yet or no?
Sorry,
are we ready for action yet?
Or
I don't have any questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Questions.
Thank you. I would move due pass on the nomination of Rich Meyer.
Okay. Motion by due pass from Senator Peterson, seconded by Senator Nelson. Comments on the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I had the great privilege of serving with Dr. Meyer on the original Social Studies Standards Committee, and he was bold and courageous and stood his ground and made sure that we were going to have information about the founders included in the standards and any number of other important facts in our history when that was going against the grain of the committee at the time. And so he followed through on his convictions and was very instrumental in getting the new process started for the new Social Studies Standards Commission. So he's a fabulous member now, and I'm just happy to support his renomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments from the committee? Senator Voigt.
If I could, as per what Senator Peterson just shared, I can verify that with with Doc Meyer. He's an acquaintance of mine, and his personality is one of grit. When he gets a hold of something, he doesn't ease up on it, and sometimes that's necessary. But I think it's legitimate, and I think the work that he's done with the committee has been commendable, so I'd like him to be able to continue.
Thank you. I see no further comments from the committee. The secretary will call the roll.
Senators Marty?
Aye.
Nelson?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Sauter? Aye. Smith?
Aye.
Voigt,
Aye.
Shanefish.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, 7 yay.
Motion carries. And seeing this was unanimous and executive reappointment, I would certify the appointment for consent if there are no objections. All right, seeing none, Mr. Meyer will go on consent. Up next, we have another executive reappointment, Dennis Slaw from Brookings County to the South Dakota Board of Technical Education. Proponent testimony.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Nick Wendell. I serve as the Executive Director of the South Dakota Board of Technical Education, and I'm here this morning to encourage your support of Mr. Law's reappointment to our board. As you all know, the Board of Technical Education is charged with providing support and oversight to our state's 4 technical colleges. Board Member Law is just wrapping up his first term on our board. He's one of 9 members that serve in 3-year terms on our board. He's a native of Clear Lake, South Dakota, a graduate of both South Dakota State University and received a master's degree from the University of South Dakota. He served more than 30 years in the telecommunications industry, rising to the role of general manager and CEO of Golden West Communications, and he served in that capacity between 2008 and 2025. He's recently retired, but through a long career also was dedicated to a number of communities and boards in the state, including the Wall Chamber of Commerce and their Economic Development Organization, and serving as a board member and a president of the SDN Communications Board. He has a good appreciation for the needs of communities throughout the state and has been an outstanding board member during his first term on our board, providing his expertise and perspective on how to support our state's 4 technical colleges. So with that, I would encourage your support of Mr. Law's reappointment, and he is online to answer any of your questions.
Okay, I think we'll go online to him right away then. Mr. Law, please go ahead.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the consideration of my reappointment to the Board of Technical Education. As Mr. Wendell identified, I've been on for 1 term and have thoroughly enjoyed the activity and the opportunity to participate on the Board of Technical Education, work with not only the outstanding staff of the board, but also the staff and the administration of each of the technical colleges across the state. It has been remarkable for me to learn more in regards to both the programs and employment opportunities, education opportunities for students who attend each of those institutions, as well as from the employer perspective and the agility of each of those institutions to tailor and design programs that are designed for successful outcomes, not only for students, both traditional as well as potentially non-traditional students, but also for employers throughout the state, whether you're talking medical, whether you're talking manufacturing, whether you're talking in ag, a whole variety of resources. And so I appreciate Governor Roden's nomination for my reappointment. I hope to continue to serve for another term and would stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Is there any further proponent testimony on Mr. Law? Any more proponent testimony? Seeing none, we'll go into opponent testimony. Is there any opponent testimony? Seeing none, there's no need for rebuttal. We move into committee questions and/or discussion and/or action. Questions from the committee? Any action from? Move to pass by Senator Sauter, seconded by Senator Voigt. Comments on the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe Mr. Law has done a very good job in his capacity so far. I worked with him in the telecommunications industry when we were both involved in that, and this is a good choice, and I approve the continuing of his serving.
Thank you. Further comments from the committee? All right. Seeing none, the secretary will call the roll.
Senators Marty.
Aye.
Nelson. Aye. Peterson.
Oh.
Sauter.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Voigt.
Aye.
Shanefish.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, 6 yay, 1 nay.
Motion carries. Up next, I am the Senate Prime for the next bill, so I will hand the gavel to our Vice Chairman, Senator Voigt.
we are looking at House 1130, and Senator is going to be the prime sponsor. So at this time, I'd ask him to go ahead and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Kyle Shanefish, Senator for District 19. 1130 would allow the capital outlay fund to be used for insurance premiums on property and liability. And over the years I've been around, there's been some modifications made here and there to the uses of the capital outlay fund, and this capital outlay is used for buildings and repairs and stuff. I think the being able to use for the liability insurance to take care of and protect our assets is very, very important, and an appropriate use of that. And I'm going to lead by example as chairman of the committee, where I like to leave plenty of time for the testifiers and the people out in the field. I would ask that we go to the remote testifiers first, and then leave time for the other testifiers in the room with time permitting. So I'd ask for your favorable support. Thank you.
Okay, at this time we'll look at remote proponents. Richard Muller.
Ms. Muller.
Could we move to Paul first, Paul Kuhlman first, and then go to the other one?
Certainly. It is.
Paul, just say his name, Paul Coleman. Mr. Coleman.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Pullman, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Thank you. I apologize. I plan to be here in person today to testify, but came back down with a severe case of stomach flu. So, greetings from Avon, South Dakota, and thank you for the chance to testify in favor of HB 1130, which amends the permissible uses of school district's capital outlay fund. My name is Paul Kuhlman, and I am the chemistry, physics teacher and superintendent at Avon School District 4-1. Avon currently has no opt-out and no debt. I plan to do everything in my power to keep it that way. This bill is just one more tool that can help accomplish this. As we all know, due to inflation, the increase in insurance over the past several years has been significant. Since 2021, our property insurance has increased by $36,540, which is a 212% increase. In a small school, that large increase is less money that can be used to increase teacher salaries, student supplies, and curriculum. Currently, the capital outlay fund may be used to purchase warranties on capital assets if the warranties do not include supplies. I would contend that a warranty and an insurance policy is very similar. For example, I could buy a 20-year warranty on the roof and pay for it out of capital outlay, but I can't use capital outlay to buy insurance to protect my roof. One could argue a school could use the 45% capital outlay flexibility to transfer funds to the general fund and pay the premium. However, it would be advantageous to just take the premium directly out of the capital outlay without having to do a transfer first. In addition, 84 districts are already using some type of capital outlay transfer, so this would free up additional funds that would not count against the transfer. This change in the permissible uses of capital outlay funds is not new. In fact, the language in South Dakota Codified Law 13-16-6 was changed as recently as 2020 when the purchase or renewal of instructional software was added to the permissible uses of the capital outlay fund. A couple of points to remember. The bill is narrow in scope and aligns with current related permissible uses such as warranties. In fact, during the House debate, Representative Mortensen remarked he was surprised this was not already an allowable expense. The bill will not impede building maintenance or improvements. School boards routinely manage different demands on the capital outlay fund. Our building was built in the 20s and is still in excellent condition due to the proper maintenance over the years by school boards. It is not mandatory, but an option. Schools could pay some, all, or none of the premium out of capital outlay. Remember, decisions such as these are best made at the local level. It will not raise property taxes. In fact, it is more likely to reduce the chance of a property tax opt-out. Insurance premiums must be paid one way or another. Currently, 79 school districts are already opted out, so clearly other issues are causing schools to opt out. It is not unusual for the legislature to add additional uses for capital outlay funds. As stated, as recently as 2020, the use of capital funds for computer software was added as a permissible use. This addition did not cause an uptick in opt-out by schools. In fact, in 2020, there were 66 schools opted out. After the new permissible use was added, in 2021, 65 schools had opted out, with the following year showing 63, 63, and 62 opt-outs. It frees up additional monies that can be used to help schools reach the teacher accountability law, which goes into effect July 1st, 2026, when districts must meet state-defined minimum salaries. It will not be used to raise administrative salaries. Refer to what I just mentioned about teacher accountability law. It allows schools some flexibility during this time of unprecedented increases in property insurance premiums. Some argued in the House debate, we need to focus on finding more providers for school insurance in the state of South Dakota, which I agree. However, in the meantime, we still must pay the premiums. This bill had excellent support in the House, passing by a margin of 41 to 25. Also, as it has moved along, it has picked up many sponsors and is now up to a total of 7 sponsors. This small change has the potential to be used to improve curriculum, increase teacher salaries, hire new teachers if needed. There are not many times that a bill comes before you that costs the state nothing, the taxpayers nothing, is not a mandate, and is beneficial to all schools, big and small. It has the potential to have a positive effect on all the schools in your own legislative district. I urge you to vote do pass on HB 1130. It deserves a chance to be heard on the Senate floor. Thank you, and I'll stand by for questions.
Thank you. It appears it's going to be necessary to look at the timeline, so we would look forward to having testimony in favor for 20 minutes. Next for support. Mr. Powers, are you available? Ms. Powers, are you available? Bridget? Bridget, are you available?
I am. Can you hear me?
Good. Go ahead and proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Senate Education Committee. My name is Bridget Muller, and I'm representing myself. However, I am an Avon High School alumni, class of 2000, and current chairperson of the Avon Board of Education. Thanks for allowing me to speak today in support of House Bill 1130. I am proud to be an Avon Pirate and proud of what our school district has accomplished since 1916, which is 110 years of graduates to the Avon School District. As Mr. Coleman stated, we have never had an opt-out, never had a consolidation, and currently have no debt. I won't go on to repeat everything Mr. Coleman said, so like in a lot of rural schools, but especially in Avon, the community is the heart of the school, and the school is the heart of the community. So I will allow further testimony. Thank you, and I'll stand by for questions.
Thank you. Who else would be online? Tom Pierre. Go ahead and proceed.
Thank you. My name is Tom Pierre, and I am Vice President and Cashier at Community Bank in Avon. I live in our town of Avon with 600 other residents, along with my wife and 2 daughters, and we have a 3rd daughter at the University of South Dakota in Vermillion. My employer, Community Bank, has been in existence since 1911 and a part of the Avon Main Street when the bank moved from Kingsburg in 1933. Community Bank has been independent and family owned for all 115 years, originally founded by my great-great-grandfather, Tom C. Peer. In just the past few years, our bank has taken steps forward by continuing to serve our local area and by installing a drive-through in our facility in the empty lot that sat just north of our building. We have invested time and funds over the past decade to keep the ever-changing landscape, focusing on technology and the future. Our primary business line here in Avon is supporting local agriculture, which is the backbone of our community. I began work at the bank in 2017, and it has been an honor to raise a family in our small town, town like Avon, all while helping grow the family business. I am very, very thankful that my daughters have a great school in Avon, and I am looking forward to many more years to come with them being Lady Pirates. Community Bank is a caretaker of the funds for the Avon School District. We work with the school and the business manager on a daily basis. Having a strong school is an integral part of what keeps great small towns being great small towns. The strength of the school not only translates to Main Street, but to the residential streets as well. House Bill 1130 is a positive step for our South Dakota school districts. It gives schools the flexibility to manage budgets without raising property taxes. What makes this bill so appealing and needed, in my opinion, is that it allows our talented small town school board members, business managers, and superintendents the opportunity to show their abilities and perform their jobs at a high level. In doing so, they keep the school system strong in our rural towns, which in turn is a positive for the entire community, as stated earlier. I appreciate the opportunity to testify on behalf of House Bill 1130. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. Mr. Powers, are you available?
Yes.
Ms. Powers.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead and proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Reese Powers. I'm an Avon High School alumni, a small business owner in Avon, and the president of the Avon Chamber of Commerce. I'm here today to speak in strong support of House Bill 1130. I graduated from Avon High School in 2022. During my time there, I was involved in many activities that helped shape who I am today and prepared me for a strong future. Avon High School did more than educate me academically. It taught me responsibility, leadership, and the value of community. Those experiences played a direct role in the path I chose after graduation. In 2022, I attended Mitchell Technical College for business management and earned my associate's degree in 2023. I then continued my education in entrepreneurship and graduated with a second associate's degree in 2024. That education gave me the tools and confidence to open my small business, Made Coffee House, back in my hometown of Avon. In small towns like Avon, our schools are not just buildings, they are the heartbeat of our communities. Schools keep families here, attract new residents, and support local businesses, and prepare the future workforce. Without strong schools, rural communities struggle to grow, and local businesses feel the impact almost immediately. As a small business owner, I see firsthand how a healthy school system supports local economies. Schools influence where families live, where employees choose to work, and whether young people see a future in their hometowns. When schools are financially strained, it affects workforce stability, childcare availability, and local spending. All of these directly impact small businesses like mine. As president of the Avon Chamber of Commerce, I can say that schools are one of the most important community and economic assets. When businesses consider investing in rural communities, schools are often one of the first questions they ask about. Strong and stable schools help keep Main Street alive. House Bill 1130 is a practical and responsible bill that gives school districts flexibility to manage rising insurance costs using existing capital outlay funds. This bill does not increase spending or create new taxes. Instead, it allows districts to protect facilities taxpayers have already invested in without pulling money away from classrooms, staff, or student programs. Some may worry that this flexibility could reduce funding for facility improvements. I would argue the opposite. Insurance protects those facilities. Without adequate coverage, the financial risk to taxpayers and communities is far greater. This bill provides an option, not a mandate. It trusts local school boards to make decisions based on their unique needs. Local leaders understand their schools and communities better than anyone else. Decisions made in Pierre that affect schools also affect Main Street. Supporting this bill supports stronger schools, which in turn creates stronger local businesses and stronger communities. I respectfully urge you to support House Bill 1130. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Are there any proponents in the room?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Representative Drew Peterson and I will need to sign in. I wasn't planning to testify, but it's a good bill. It's all about keeping taxes low and letting the schools use the money that they have so we don't have to opt out and raise property taxes. As everybody said, property insurance is going up in schools, it's going up on farms for our homes, and but we haven't been increasing the pay to help them. You know, last year we gave them 1 1/4. This year we were looking at 0, maybe 1, but inflation's been a lot faster than that. So let's give them the flexibility to pay their bills with the money they have and not raise taxes. I'll stand by for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. We're showing about 5 minutes left for proponent testimony.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of Senate Education Committee. Sandra Waltman with the South Dakota Education Association. As previously outlined by the previous proponents, this bill is going to give school districts the flexibility, and I just want to take a moment and say I really appreciate the online testimony to show that our schools are truly the heart of our communities, and I think this is a tool for them, especially in our smaller communities, to pay for those increasing costs. And with that, we would urge you to vote yes on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Heath Larson, Executive Director, Associated School Boards. I'm a simple Me Too today and appreciate the flexibility for our school boards, and also want to thank the online testifiers for their testimony. I do believe across this great state we would also hear from very similar things in all of our communities about the pride in their local schools and the importance of that towards Main Street. So thank you very much in supporting the bill.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Mitch Richter, South Dakota United School Association. I'm not from Avon this morning. I think there must have only been 2 people that in Avon that didn't testify this morning. So I'm glad to see that they're involved, and I couldn't have said it any better than what he did. It just puts another tool in the toolbox. With the number of opt-outs that we have, I think it's important that we pass this type of legislation. It doesn't cost you anything, doesn't cost state anything, doesn't cost the school district anything. This is a win-win on all fronts. We'd urge you to pass the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Further testimony from the floor? Seeing opponent testimony? Calling for opponent testimony. Questions? No questions. Ask the sponsor.
No rebuttal. So.
No rebuttal at this time? Okay. We'll go forward with discussion or action from the committee.
Chair?
Go ahead.
I move do pass House Bill 1130.
I second that.
Comment?
We have motion to do pass Senator Smith, second by Senator Sauter.
Comments?
Comments from the committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for bringing this bill. I think it does exactly what the proponents said, and I love the use of the funds that we have to do what I believe they're intended to do, and that's to take care of this property and these buildings, and the capital outlay funds, the way that they're set up. I also agree with Representative Mortensen that I think that this is a very good use, and can't quite believe that it's not part of that, especially when it was brought to our attention that you could buy a warranty for the building, but you can't buy the insurance for the building. So that's a great, that strain of logic is really, really good. I like the fact that we're not having to raise taxes, and if this can keep schools that haven't had to opt out and keep them from doing that, I think that's a win for the community as well. So I will support this, and I appreciate the bill being brought.
Further comments? Mr. Marty.
Thank you for recognizing me, Vice Chair. Well, this is just a comment about what happened to me on this bill. I got an email from my superintendent up in my district referring to, I hear you are against this bill. A lobbyist had called him and said, I'm against this bill. And I hadn't even read the bill yet because I go through my stuff at night. And I just wanted to call out and bring this to attention that lobbyists are busy calling my superintendents before I've even made a comment to the superintendent. And I just don't think it's right. Come and talk to me and find out my viewpoints versus calling the superintendent. Thank you. And when I first got this email, I was pretty upset and was going to vote no just because of comments like that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Further comments?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Senator Peterson.
Thank you. I will be resisting the motion because I think we need more than tweaking around the edges. We see lots of bills that want to change this and that and the other thing, but the package that was brought in 2016 before I was here to raise the sales tax 0.5% to go to education came with a structure that was studied and then implemented by the Blue Ribbon Task Force. And the whole package was meant to work together. And I think if we dismantle that piece by piece by piece, we end up having a mess. And so I'm going to resist the motion because I generally resist those little tweaks around the edges, but I am very much in favor of overall reform. It's been 10 years since that happened, and I think it's time that we do take a look at a bigger picture, but I'm going to resist the motion on this smaller piece. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll just throw in a comment. I'm not sure if this really goes much against the Blue Ribbon Task Force for keeping the percentage the same on transfers, but I do appreciate the comments from the good senator from Sioux Falls, because I've always been saying we need to take another broad look at that. So thank you. But I would urge support of the bill today, though.
Further comments?
Senator,
Secretary.
Senators Marty?
Pass.
Nelson? Aye. Peterson?
No.
Sauter?
Aye.
Smith? Aye. Marty?
A reluctant yes.
Voigt?
Aye.
Shanefish?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, 6 yea, 1 nay.
The motion is carries.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, personal privilege.
Head Senator.
Thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce the students who have come in just recently, and their instructors and chaperones from Abiding Savior Academy in Sioux Falls. I ask if that you would please welcome them all.
If I could follow up comment on it, I really appreciate them being very gentle, because we would have run out of oxygen if you guys got up and acted like lunchroom time. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Senator Smith, seconded by Senator Peterson. Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. We
SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota Legislature and in-depth reporting from Pierre. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB.
Okay, we're going to call the Senate Ag and Natural Resources Committee to order. It is Tuesday, February 24th, and I will welcome everybody that's here today for any bills and greetings to all the internet listeners that are listening online all across the world. Just a couple of housekeeping things here. Reminders that if you have a cell phone, please turn your cell phone off or turn to silent so we don't have any disruptions. And with that, I would ask the secretary to please call the roll.
Senators Davis. Here. Duhamel. Excused?
Yeah, excused.
Marty.
Here.
Voigt.
Here.
Whip.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Pischke.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. We do have a quorum. At this time, I'd be asking for a motion to approve the minutes of our previous meeting. Senator Voigt. Is that a do approve? Do I have a second? Second from Senator Jensen. Comments on your motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes are so approved. Okay. Reminder to testifiers, if you're going to testify today on any bill, make sure you sign in at the iPad here in the back, or you can do it from your electronic device from your phone. If you need any help with that, a page can certainly help you figure that out. Lobbyists, if you're coming up to testify in the bill, make sure you're wearing your badge and it's properly displayed. If you have any handouts, please utilize the pages and give the handouts to pages, and they can get those handouts to us as at the committee. With that, I would ask the pages, I don't know if the other one's around, but just coming. Okay. Well, why don't we just we'll get you first, and maybe we'll get her second. Why don't you come up and introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, what your plans are. Go to this mic over here. Tell us your name, where you're from, and what your plans are after high school.
My name's Claire Curdell. I'm from Gettysburg, and I either plan on going to Mount Marty or USF and majoring in theology and psychology or sociology.
All right, very good. Thank you for your service to the legislature. I hope you're enjoying your time so far. Okay, and just another, do you have a personal privilege, Senator Marty? Or just, you do?
Well, I just want to comment on Mount Marty.
You can leave your comments for later. Okay. Okay, and just a reminder that all testimony and questions will be addressed through the chair. Okay, so with all that said, we're going to get going on our bill hearings. First up on our agenda today is House Bill 1001, which is a bill providing for the prescribed burning of state-owned land by a person owning adjoining land and to declare an emergency. We will now hear proponent testimony on House Bill 1001.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning. Good morning, committee. My name is Bob Perry. I'm the Cabinet Secretary for the Department of Public Safety. I'm here today to discuss HB 1001, an act to provide for the prescribed burning of state-owned land by a person owning adjoining land and to declare an emergency. In order to explain why this bill is necessary, I need to set the stage a little, but I will try and be quick because there are people here that this actually affects, and it's more important for you to hear from them. So, Central South Dakota is experiencing something they're calling the Green Glacier effect, which means the rapid spread of the eastern red cedar up and down the Missouri River and adjacent to it. Not just along the river, but this bill focuses on along the river. The spread is fast, bunched up, and they push out any grass under and around them. In the past 10 years, producers have been losing about 10% of their pasture land. Landowners can already burn their own land. However, the Department of Game, Fish and Parks owns land near the Missouri River. So if you remember when the Corps turned it over, they turned it over to the GF&P. So a certain amount of land from the Missouri River up to the private land is state land, state-owned land. Current law criminalizes the burning of state-owned land without authorization from the state. And it identifies and limits the burning of state land to the Secretary of Public Safety or their designee. And my designee is Director of Wildland Fire. So as you know, GF&P does burn some of their own land all across the state, and it does so in partnership with Wildland Fire. And they do that because Wildland Fire or the Department of Public Safety are the ones who have the responsibility and, quite frankly, the liability for those burns. So even though GF&P conducts the burns largely on their own sometimes, they do so in coordination with Wildland Fire, and the Director of Wildland Fire approves those burns the morning that they're going to happen. He also does several things in advance as well, but the morning those burns happen, they have a conference call and Wildland Fire approves those burns. I bring that up just to demonstrate that this is a process that we've been following that shows that DPS is in control of the burn. So the need for this bill, along those lines, was discovered almost a couple years ago now, unfortunately, when a burn plan was submitted to Wildland Fire, and they determined at that time, and I'll back up a bit and tell you that everybody's different now. Different secretaries of Game, Fish and Parks and DPS, different directors of Wildland Fire. So when this director saw that he questioned its legality, pushed it out to the attorneys, and they determined that, in fact, the MOU didn't comply with the law, which forced GF&P to cancel the MOU. So that's why we're here, to try and fix that problem. These trees need to be burned. There's no easy way to mechanically remove them in that rough river terrain. And the terrain also prevents landowners from safely removing the trees mechanically by chainsaw or some other means. And I want to say this bill is not something that DPS came up with. It's a result of cooperative efforts between DPS, GF&P, private landowners, and a burn association. We have wrestled with different questions and various solutions. We tried very hard to find a way to get this done without the need for legislation, but it always came back to the law. Whatever ideas we came up with, as good as they sounded, the attorneys decided that it still violated the law. So here we are today. This bill that you have before you, HB 1001, carves out a very specific exemption for landowners along the Missouri River to burn their property and state land together to stop the advance of the eastern red cedar and other woody species. The bill is very targeted. It doesn't apply to any other rangeland across the state, and regardless of ownership, it doesn't apply at all anywhere in the Black Hills Fire Protection District. The bill requires them to receive consent in writing from the Secretary or Commissioner who owns the land, who's in control of the land. And I want to point out that the state entity that provides the consent is not consenting to the burn necessarily. This legislation does that. The entity is consenting that it is an appropriate land management technique for that area. Additionally, the bill requires those conducting the burns to ensure reasonable forces and equipment are available to provide for fire suppression, as well as any other applicable laws. This does not exempt them from any safety requirements. It simply allows them to burn state land in conjunction with their own. The person who receives the written consent to conduct a prescribed burn assumes all liability for the burn and removes liability from the state. And that's how it was written in their original MOU as well, so it's not something new. And finally, there's an emergency clause, which makes the law effective as soon as the governor signs it, as you all know. And the reason for that clause is spring is the time that you burn these cedars, and we don't want them to lose a third burning season. As I alluded to earlier, there were several individuals here who will explain more about the issue, the training and preparation landowners do for their prescribed burns. But first, I'll turn it over to GF&P Secretary Roebling, but not before I ask you to support and pass Bill HB 1001, and I'll stand by for questions.
Thank you, Secretary Perry. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1001. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Kevin Roebling here, Secretary of Game Fish and Parks. Game Fish and Parks rises in support of House Bill 1001. Conservation is really a team effort, and this bill is a perfect example of this. This allows Game Fish and Parks, the Department of Public Safety, landowners, farmers, and ranchers along the Missouri River to work together as a team to support important habitat management activities, and which in this case is prescribed burning. We've all worked together on this bill, and we believe we have a solution that will meet all parties' needs and wants and desires. I urge your support of House Bill 1001 and look forward to seeing habitat management in action this spring along the Missouri River. Please vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Roebling. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1001. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Stacy Hagee. I'm here testifying on behalf of the Mid-Missouri River Prescribed Burn Association. As Secretary Perry described, the land that's involved in and implicated by this bill, I want to point out that it's necessary to burn these two properties together because of the terrain involved. There's just no practical way to separate out the state-owned land from the ranches when conducting these prescribed burns. Various agencies, organizations are involved in the effort to push back on the woody encroachment from the cedar trees. The Oklahoma legislature has studied this issue. The University of Nebraska-Lincoln has conducted studies on it. South Dakota's Pheasants Forever chapter received a $24 million grant to fight back on eastern red cedars through use of prescribed burns and other methods. The encroachment of this, what was coined as the Green Glacier, that is exhibited on the handout that I have submitted and shown in the red. So you can see the spread of these eastern red cedars if we don't fight back. The Mid-Missouri River Prescribed Burn Association was formed in 2016 as a volunteer organization to fight back, to regain their ground from these eastern red cedars. They, under the memorandum of agreement that they had in place, they were able to move forward with these burns. They had a perfect track record of conducting the prescribed burns, and they safely conducted 23 burns, burning over a total of 8,300 acres. And the largest of those burns consisted of nearly 1,800 acres along the Missouri River. The agreement allowed the parties to move forward towards the common goal of burning these grounds, and this legislation allows the association to move forward and do just that as well, continue on with their practice. It's important to note that the bill here allows Secretary or the Game Fish and Parks Department the opportunity to review the application, the request to burn, and approve it if it meets the requirements as set forth in the bill. The legislation protects the landowners from being subject to criminal charges simply by conducting the prescribed burn that would extend to the state property bordering the Missouri River. Finally, the landowners who are already responsible for burning their own property and for moving forward with those own activities on their private property, it extends that liability to the burn through the Missouri River. It's good for everyone. It helps wildlife fire risk mitigation. It allows the landowners to regain their property. And with that, I respectfully request the passage of House Bill 1001. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1001.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Doug Feltman. I have a ranch south of Chamberlain in Brule County on the east side of the Missouri River. The ranch is just over 1,000 acres, and with the NRCS computer mapping, I have 475 acres of pasture. With that, in that 475 acres of pasture, about 248 acres are complete 100% canopy cedar tree encroachment. The farmers and ranchers along the river were losing our pasture to the cedar trees, and fire is the most practical and efficient way to take care of the problem because there are acres and acres along the river where you cannot get machinery to shear the trees. I respectfully ask you to support this bill, and I'll stand by for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feltman. Thank you for being here today. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1001.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Nice to be here again in front of you folks. My name is George Vandell. I live in Pierce, South Dakota. I'm a registered lobbyist for several organizations, a volunteer lobbyist, including the South Dakota Wildlife Federation. We stand in support of this bill. We understand the importance and are frankly quite pleased that fire is giving its proper recognition as an outstanding wildlife management tool. It's one of the big five that could be either used to increase or decrease wildlife populations. And it's good to see people are using the science behind the ability to burn in the proper way in order to increase wildlife populations. Eastern red cedars are a native species. They're an outstanding species if they're in the right place. They provide year-round winter or thermal cover. They're a great food source, as one of the reasons you can see they're easy to spread, because there's so many species of birds and mammals that utilize eastern red cedars. So I just urge you to keep that in mind, that a cedar in the right place is great. A cedar in the wrong place is just a big weed. We certainly support this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1001. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to take a breath. The last time I testified, I didn't breathe through the whole testimony, so I'm going to breathe. My name is Sarah Graham. My husband and I, Rich, ranch along in the River Hills country in Gregory County. They're passing around some pictures. We wanted to go easy on the paper today, but these are very strong visuals, and I'm a visual person. I like to see the visuals. I was born and raised on this family ranch, and Rich and I came back to this area and have ranched here since 1982. The information I want to pass on to you today is illustrated by the pictures I'm handing out. The first one is a copy of the map of our burn plan, but illustrates to you the scale of the state-owned land along the river that joins our own pasture. The state of South Dakota owns 162 acres that we rent from them. Our river pasture adjoins this state ground and is a pasture of approximately 1,000 acres. As you can see from the illustration, the scale with which the state land affects our owned acres. The second picture is an aerial view of the burned pasture from May 2nd and 3rd, 2023. As you can see from the photo, it is imperative that we use the Missouri River as the largest black line in the country. It only makes sense to burn to the water. The May 2023 burn was our third burn in this pasture, and we are scheduled to burn again. We have been held up by the rejection of the MOU we had with Game Fish and Parks from 2019. We have been burning this area for 10 years and have been extremely successful in pushing back against the cedar encroachment. We are reclaiming our grasslands in this area. Because we are so heavily encroached in this area, it is imperative that we burn due to the rugged terrain and the size of the large trees. I urge you to support HB 1001, and I will entertain any questions.
Thank you. We'll get the questions here in a little bit. We're going to do further proponent testimony on House Bill 1001 in the room. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sheldon Fletcher. I'm a Lower Brule tribal member and a veteran. I own fee title land in Lyman County, as well as allotted land on the Lower Brule Reservation, where I run cattle with my two cousins. I've worked for Lower Brule Tribe for 28 years. Currently, I serve as president of the River Breaks Prescribed Burn Association, and we cover the northern half of Lyman County. I am testifying today in support of House Bill 1001 because I am very familiar with the threat of eastern red cedar. The challenge we are facing a biome scale threat where our grasslands are collapsing and transitioning into woody dominated states. This is a spatially contagious process. If we do not manage the seed sources, the problem spreads to neighbors and impacts the entire landscape. A single mature eastern red cedar can produce more than 1.5 million seeds a year, constantly contaminating the surrounding range. The solution, prescribed fire. As a leader of a prescribed burn association, I advocate for prescribed burns because fire is the only management tool capable of targeting the entire encroachment process. While mechanical tools can remove a tree, they do not address the seed bank. Fire consumes seeds hidden in the grass before they germinate and destroy seedlings that are often missed by other methods. I can't speak for the tribe itself, but I did have personal communications with our tribal chairman, Boyd Gorno, and our secretary-treasurer, Marty Jandrew, and they both are in favor of this bill. So we cannot afford to let our grasslands transition into woodlands. By supporting House Bill 1001, you are supporting a proven, cost-effective tool that protects our water, our wildlife, and our agricultural economy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1001.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Tom Hausman. I live in Yankton. I'm an absentee owner. I own pasture in Gregory County. I'd like to put in perspective the amount of damage that's been done in real terms. In 2022, South Dakota State University did research on the amount of grass that's not produced because of cedar trees. That in 2022, there were 209,671 tons of grass that wasn't grown. And to put that in perspective, that's about 279,561 large round bales that you've all seen as you travel the state. And to reduce that even further, it would take 9,318 hay hauling semis to haul that much hay in 1 year. 9,000 of them. Are there that many in the state? I don't know. Okay, that was in 2022. Then exponentially that grows and grows and grows. We have reduced our grass production enough to support 30,000 cow-calf pairs a year. That's how much economically, that's how much we've reduced this. So I strongly urge you to support this HB 1001.
Thank you, sir. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1001. Good morning.
Good morning. Mic is on? Okay. Good.
Yes, your mic is on. Go ahead and proceed. Introduce yourself and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sean Kelly. I'm from Gregory, South Dakota, where I'm employed as a range field specialist by South Dakota State University Extension. I've come here this morning in my individual capacity at the invitation of Secretary Perry. I have not been authorized to testify to this bill on behalf of the South Dakota Board of Regents or SDSU, and my remarks reflect only my view and my professional judgment. Chairman Pischke and committee members, I want to visit with you today regarding, just briefly, two prescribed burn topics: burn training and burn preparations for landowners. First, any landowner who is a member of the Mid-Missouri River Prescribed Burn Association must complete a 3-prong approach to training before that landowner can conduct a prescribed burn on his or her ranch. First, the landowner must complete a required training recommended by the Mid-Missouri River PBA Board of Directors. That current recommended training is the SDSU Extension Partner-Led Prescribed Fire Training, which consists of classroom and live fire field sessions tailored to private landowners. I'll provide more details on that shortly, and I do have a handout with more information on like an example agenda of the training if the committee desires to see that. Second, the landowner must participate on a prescribed burn on another Mid-Missouri River PBA's property before a burn will be conducted on his or her ranch. And then third, which is a little nuanced, but every prescribed burn conducted by the Mid-Missouri River PBA is a training opportunity for everyone. Whether it's someone's first prescribed burn or 50th burn, every burn provides an opportunity to gain more knowledge and experience at different skill levels while also developing a landowner-led burn culture in the community and region. Back to the SDSU Extension Partner-Led Prescribed Fire Training just briefly. The classroom sessions cover fire planning and design, goals, objectives and safety, ecology and weather, communications, and USDA agency program rules. The field sessions cover fire equipment, fire break preparation, weather and fuels, burn techniques, and live fire exercises. So just to be clear, there's a classroom session and then a live fire field session. Classroom only sessions are offered in many locations across the state. The classroom with the live fire field sessions have been held in 4 locations around the state. Oak Lake Field Station north of Brookings with Sheldon and the Lower Brule Sioux Tribe north of Lower Brule, and then on 2 different private landowners' ranches in Mitchell and Brandon. And then lastly, regarding a little bit on burn preparation, you'll be hearing from Heather Hammerbeck. She's going to cover it a little bit from a landowner perspective. I'm going to just touch on it from a technical perspective. The planning process is a 2 to 3 years minimum with that landowner, especially on a new burn unit. A lot of it depends on the amount of prep work, such as shearing cedar trees, building fire breaks, deferring grazing to build fuel. A full inventory is completed on the burn unit. The unit is GPSed to build maps. We determine where fire breaks go, contingency fire breaks, escape routes, and other hazards within the burn unit. It's usually 6 to 7 field visits at minimum over those 2 to 3 years, developing that trust and relationship with that landowner. And then we also work with the landowner to complete the written burn plan, coordinate with NRCS if any cost share programs are involved, coordinate with other state and or federal agencies regarding other needed assessments or permissions. In February of every year, the Mid-Missouri River PBA Board of Directors reviews and approves all upcoming burn plans for the burn year. I hope these details give you a little snippet into the amount of training and preparation these landowners undertake to conduct prescribed burns on their ranches. Thank you, and I'll stand by for questions.
Thank you, sir. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1001. Representative Marty, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee. Marty Overweg, Representative, District 21. I just want you to know how thankful I am, how government can work and work pretty smooth. This bill was created between Secretary Perry and the Department of Public Safety, Secretary Roebling, Game Fish and Parks, some of us legislators, and of course, more importantly, the landowners and people that this will affect. This is good government. We had a problem, we solved it. Could have it been faster? Sure, but we don't move fast. Hopefully we move the right way. I just want to say a big me too. And if any of you are going west of Platte towards the Platte-Winter Bridge, if you just remember as you're going down the bridge, look, and you will see it's almost the split of the open pasture going to the north and the trees going to the south. This is a huge problem. In cattle country, it's taking land. This is property rights. They should be able to take care of their property the way it does. And the best thing is this works in this area. It works so nice because the fire can burn down to the river. And that's why we need this. We need to reclaim our land, put some more cows on it, and that's how we make our living. So thank you, and I hope you guys can vote green.
Thank you, Representative Overweg. Further proponent testimony. Senator Voida.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Senator Michaela Voida, District 21. And I just want to say that it is a lovely feeling for this bill to be in this committee right now. I just want to assure the committee that there has been a lot of eyes going over this bill. There's been a lot of hours of debate and picking it apart and discussion, and I really think that we have a good product that's actually going to help our landowners move forward, and I just urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1001 in the room. Seeing nobody moving towards the mic, we have one online proponent, Heather Hammerbeck. Would you like to add some testimony as well? Heather, you're on mute. Would you like to unmute yourself and provide testimony? Still muted. There you go. Oh, you were unmuted, and now you muted yourself again. Okay. Well, I don't think we're going to have much objection here, so I think we're just going to move on. But thank you for trying. So with that, we're going to move to opponent testimony. Opponent testimony on House Bill 1001. Seeing nobody moving forward, there's no need for rebuttal. We will now move to committee questions. Is there any questions of the committee? Senator Jensen.
Yeah, I just have one for probably public safety, or maybe I'll just ask the question and somebody can come answer it. Do you believe that this bill is enough to get the job done that you need to do, or will there have to be promulgational rules or anything? I mean, is this the final product, or are we going to have some rules set in place to make this all work? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Bob Perry, Department of Public Safety.
Go ahead.
I think we made the law broad enough, and we didn't attach a lot of if this, then that type language, so I believe it does cover what needs to be covered.
Thank you. Further questions of the committee? Senator Marty.
Maybe Secretary. I just wanted a short explanation of section 34-35-9.
Sure. That section requires you to. I'm trying to remember which one's which. One requires you to be cognizant of the weather, basically, or ensure you have appropriate burn lines to protect the spread of the fire. So in both 9 and 10, it talks about what you need to do to ensure that the fire doesn't escape.
Okay.
Follow up. Go ahead.
So I have 1,000 acres and I want to burn. How long does that process take to get your okay and to start burning?
We didn't set up a time frame, so my understanding from GF&P, and this might be a better question for them, is that it won't take long at all because they're not approving the burn itself. They're just saying that is an appropriate land management technique. They're not going through the burn plan or anything like that. That's left up to the landowners. So I believe it would be very quick.
Senator Marty, you're good? Do you want to ask that question to the GF&P, or you're good? If Secretary Roblin would come forward and answer that question, that'd be appreciated from my perspective as well.
Yeah, Kevin Roblin here, Game Fish and Parks Secretary. As far as the process is concerned, I mean, we are only granting permission for them to burn on to the public land. So it can be a written document, a letter, which can be approved very quickly. The second it gets to my desk, it's in my signature file. There's a map attached to the approval process. That's about the extent of it, is a map, a burn unit map, and the fact that it's been through this approval process with other staff, at least they are informed about it, so we can have some resources on site as well at times. But it'll be a very quick process, less than a few days at most, I'm hoping, because there's a burn window that's very tight. You don't get a lot of opportunity to light the match, so when that match needs to be lit, we want to make sure to act quickly.
Follow up.
excuse my ignorance on this, but does this, I own 1,000 acres, can I own it clear to the river, to the shoreline?
Through the chair.
Secretary Roebling, go ahead.
So typically there is Title VI land between the.
There's what?
There's Title VI land, state land, Game Fish and Parks land at this point. It used to be Title VI land. That's the Army Corps of Engineers land that was transferred to the Game Fish and Parks back in 2009. There's 66,000 acres up and down the river right now that is in fee title to the Game Fish and Parks. That was obviously Corps land. We could refer to that as Title VI. So the way this property boundary in this case works is you have private property adjacent to the Title VI land or the Game Fish and Parks land, and then the river. That's why it is so critical to burn both the private property and the Game Fish and Parks land together, because the river acts as the river or as the fire break. So typically, if you are going to be a landowner that owns land adjacent to the Game Fish and Parks land, that land then is adjacent to the river.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Secretary Roebling, I got a question for you. Obviously, there's the deer unit there, 13L. Is there going to be any plans to do any burning in that unit to control these cedars as well?
Yeah, through the chair. I mean, it is we look at all different land management activities or practices that could occur on those properties. If burning is one of those management activities staff would like to pursue, we absolutely will look at lighting a match and burning those acres. That is a very rugged unit as well, 13L, where fire in this case is likely the only management option we have to control the eastern red cedar. So yes, to answer your question, we have been burning quite a bit already, especially in 13L and Game Fish and Parks lands up and down the Missouri River. It's a management tool that we really want to utilize to the greatest of our abilities. Our staff are trained in this, and they continue to look for properties to ensure that this management practice can occur on.
Sounds good. Whatever you do, don't burn it all at once, okay? Further questions of the committee. Senator Voigt.
If I could have the secretary come back.
Secretary Roebling, another question for you.
The spread of the red cedar, is it just germane to the Missouri, reference to Cheyenne? I've got 1.5 miles riparian buffer, and I am sure that the county allowed me to plant trees along that in that buffer, and some of them were red cedars, and now they're really creating problems. So do you see a spread of that, like statewide, over back east, up in the northeast, or is it just specific to that Missouri?
Secretary Roebling, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair. It is a statewide issue, especially, cedar trees are a great thermal cover for wildlife. They absolutely are. We plant cedar trees in our game production areas because of that thermal cover that they do provide in those severe winters. They're a great tree, but they have to be managed. And to be managed, you either need to mechanically remove them or you need to burn them. So if cedar trees aren't managed, if they do get outside of their, let's say where they're planted, and they aren't managed through those two activities, then yes, they can become a very big problem statewide. Not just on the Missouri River. You see in the Wasta Hills, right? You drop down in Wasta and you'll look to your left, you look to your right. There are cedar trees all over that country. That needs in fire as well. The Cheyenne River breaks as well. So this is a statewide issue that we are continually looking to address through fire in certain places where we can get fire on the landscape. And we're actively engaged in those conversations. Bringing fire back to the grasslands is an important component to grassland management.
Thank you.
Further questions of the committee? Seeing no further questions, we will move on to committee discussion and/or action on House Bill 1001.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Duhamel. We have a do pass motion from Senator Duhamel, second from Senator Whiff. Comments on your motion, Senator?
common sense tree and timber management is so important in South Dakota.
Further comments on the do pass motion? Okay, seeing no further comments, I'll just make a couple comments here. I think that this is really good legislation, and I applaud the sponsors for getting everybody together. I applaud everybody for coming here today and making all your comments. I know it really shows that how super important it is when everybody shows up here and puts in all the work. So thank you again for being here and making your comments here. So, and with that, I will ask the Secretary to call the roll on the do pass motion by Duhamel, second by Senator Whiff. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Davis, excused. Duhamel.
Aye.
Marty.
Aye.
Voigt.
Aye.
Whiff.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Pischke.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, we have 6 yeas and 1 excused.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. That motion, having received the affirmative vote of the members-elect, will move to the floor with a due pass recommendation. And if there's no objection, I will certify that for the consent calendar.
Emergency clause.
Oh, my apologies. That will not be on consent due to the emergency clause. Okay. Moving on then in our agenda, we now have up House Bill 1265, which is a bill to establish an avian special purpose salvage permit. After the room clears out, we will hear proponent testimony on House Bill 1265.
Should we move an amendment first? There's some proponents that'll be in favor if we get the amendment on before that.
Yeah, I think the prime sponsor, I'll address that with them here in a second.
Just to let you know, Ellsworth is an appropriation, so at some point they're going to
No worries.
sat down there and then
No worries.
seemed to go slow. So.
No worries. Senator Jensen, there's talk about an amendment. Do you plan on moving that amendment or asking for that amendment to be moved? Yes. Okay. Do you want to do that right away?
Yes, please. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, yes. 1265A, I would like to move that amendment.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'd like to move 1265A.
Second.
We have a motion from Senator Whiff to amend with 1265A, second from Senator Duhamel. Comments on the motion?
Yeah, sure. So this is, I believe it's considered friendly. It achieves what the prime sponsor wanted to do, but gets GF&P out of the way, which is something they wanted to do. And it also addresses something I didn't find out until this discussion, that even accidental destruction of a nest when you're, say, doing first cutting alfalfa, which sadly is something that does happen. I don't love when it happens, but it does happen. Apparently I'm supposed to be getting in trouble on that, and I think we have an opportunity to clean that up as well. So we've got sort of a four-way win in front of us. I'd ask you to support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments on the motion to amend? Seeing no further motions, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Bill is so amended. Okay. Now we got the housekeeping taken care of. Senator Jensen, would you please proceed with introducing House Bill 1265 as amended?
Yes, and thank you for moving the amendment. I've been working with the Grimms, I've been talking to them for over a year on this issue, and Representative Jordan had put the bill together, which I would have supported in the first place, but Game Fish and Parks, I met with Mr. Kirschman and talked to Secretary Roebling, and I think they're going to be in support of this. It simplifies the bill, makes it very much more easy for everybody to understand exactly what the purpose is. But what I'm going to do, and then I'll turn it over to Representative Jordan. I just want to introduce Madison Grimm is the founder of Second Chance Flight, a South Dakota nonprofit dedicated to waterfowl conservation. She's a 3-time national winner of the Federal Duck Stamp Contest. She's also the youngest person to ever win the competition, and is the only artist in the program's history to earn the national title 3 times. Her father here is Adam Grimm, and I will say they used to be in my district. I've known them for a long time, but then they migrated north with the birds. Adam is a 3-time winner of the prestigious Federal Duck Stamp Program and is the youngest artist to ever win his respective competitions. He's also a 3-time Ducks Unlimited Artist of the Year. His artwork has raised millions of dollars for wetland conservation and waterfowl habitat across North America, and in recognition of his conservation impact, multiple habitat restoration projects have been named in his honor. And what we're here discussing today is basically the Second Chance Flight Foundation nonprofit that Madison had started, and I'll turn now over to Representative Jordan. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1265. Welcome, Representative.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. I just wanted to get up here and say thank you for considering House Bill 1265 and encourage a yes vote. This is due to the amazing work, as Senator Jensen said, of Madison and Second Chance Flight, and she will do a much better job talking about it, so I'll turn over to her. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1265 as amended. Welcome.
Well, good morning. Chair and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Madison Graham, and I'm from Wallace, South Dakota. I started Second Chance Flight because South Dakota is one of the most important nesting areas in the country for both ducks and upland birds. Every spring, nesting season happens at the same time as normal farming activity. Nests are unintentionally destroyed during haying, disking, and other routine field work. When that happens, those eggs don't survive, even when they're very close to hatching. Seeing that happen firsthand and knowing those unhatched eggs had no chance at all is what led me to start this nonprofit. I was contacted by numerous farmers these past few years that were hitting nests, and they wanted to know if I could take the eggs and hatcheries and release them, knowing I have an incubator and have raised birds before. And I always had to tell them no, because it's legal to take wild eggs, even if they're going to be destroyed. So that was what kind of led me to pursue this. There's only one other organization in the country that does this work with an egg salvage program. They're in California, and in the folder I actually have a letter of support from their egg salvage coordinator. And it's a really good letter. I encourage you all to read it because it kind of explains more what I'm doing. But the problem is, now that I'm doing it with waterfowl, I hold a federal migratory bird special purpose egg salvage permit. And because it was such a hard permit to get, I've been doing this with the ducks this past year. But yeah, pheasants aren't under it. And so this past spring, I was getting a number of phone calls from people that were hitting pheasant nests. And they wanted to know if I could take the pheasant eggs also. And having to tell them I couldn't was kind of tricky, because then it lowers farmer participation, but it also creates confusion because a lot of people don't know the difference between duck and pheasant eggs. So this bill would essentially fix that. It would allow me to take the duck eggs clearly under state statute, and it would also allow me to take pheasant eggs and release them back into the wild. So yeah, I encourage your support of it. Again, I have letters, quite a few letters. I have a whole binder of them here for review if anyone's interested. I have 96 letters and 330 signatures in support. A number from Ducks Unlimited, local farmers in our area, and a number of other organizations. So we accepted Game Fish and Parks amendment, and we're happy to have their support now. So thank you. I encourage you to support it.
Thank you, Madison, for being here, and thanks for everything you're doing. Just we'll take further proponent testimony on House Bill 1265 as amended. Senator Davis, just so you're aware, we are on the amended bill. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning committee members. Tom Kirschman, Director of Wildlife Division, Department of Game Fish and Parks, and we come this morning in support of the amendment to House Bill 1265, now as amended as A, and provide you a couple of reasons why we do stand here in support of it. Number one, the amendment will simplify the process for Ms. Grimm to carry out the mission of her organization, Second Chance Flight. Secondly, the amendment will also eliminate additional government oversight. There will be no permit that will be required by Ms. Grimm to obtain from the state of South Dakota. There will not be additional rule promulgation process that will need to be included, and there's no fee to be collected. So from the original version of the bill to the amended version, that certainly will eliminate a lot of that government additional oversight. The one thing that the amendment also does, that was mentioned by Senator Whiff as well, the amendment would also clarify that no one would be in violation of unintentionally destroying a nest, i.e. during agricultural practices, which we see and we know that happens on a regular basis, as well as many other examples that could be provided. So we are appreciative of you adopting that amendment, and we certainly stand by in support of House Bill 1265A as amended, and for the continuation of Ms. Grimm to carry out the mission of Second Chance Flight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will stand by for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kirschman. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1265 as amended.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is George Vandell. I'm a registered lobbyist with the South Dakota Wildlife Federation, the Ikes Lakes and Streams Association, and the South Dakota Waterfowl Association. It's an honor here to testify as a proponent to this bill. I think you just see how passionate South Dakotans are about their wildlife resources. You know, 220,000 licensed buyers, that's a quarter of the population. And so, according to some surveys, 98% of the citizens of the state of South Dakota enjoy and like participating in wildlife activities. And I think the two folks behind us are just proof of that. So we support these, support this legislation. I've read the amendment. We support the amendment. I like making things simple, and this does that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony on House Bill 1265 as amended. Seeing nobody in the room, moving forward, we do have one person online. Ms. Hilding, would you like to provide some proponent testimony as amended? It looks like you're still muted. Can you unmute yourself? There we go.
I unmuted myself. All right. I'm Nancy Hilding. I'm president of Prairie Hills Audubon Society of Western South Dakota and the registered lobbyist. Therefore, I testified before you on 148. So we have a lot of bird focus. We support this bill as amended. We think the amendment improves it. And we want to take this moment to thank all of the entities and people in South Dakota that do bird rehabilitation. There's egg collecting, fixing. There's 4 of them, 2 entities or people, 2 West River, 2 East River. We know if we thank them all, and we think this bill helps all the people who want to do bird rehabilitation. And I want to, and I thank everybody involved in bringing this bill forward. And I want to point out what I think is a slight mistake, which in no way harms the bill, and we still love the bill. But on page 3, line 5, that says,
Ms. Hilding, there is no page 3 of this bill.
There isn't a page 3. Oh, that's the way it printed on my sheet. Okay. It's section 3.
There is no section 3 either. It's one section now.
Oh, it's one section now is amended?
Yeah, the amended bill is one section.
So all the rest of it went away?
It's one section, ma'am.
Okay, so when it got amended, it just became one section and all of the other text in the bill got thrown out?
That would be correct. It's one section now. It's pretty short. It has 2 subsets.
All right, then my comment is irrelevant.
Okay. Well, thank you
okay.
for being here today. We appreciate you. Well, moving
All
on
right.
then. Let's go to opponent testimony on House Bill 1265 as amended. Is there any opponents to this bill? Seeing nobody moving forward and nobody online, we will waive rebuttal and move to committee questions. Is there any questions from the committee? I'll ask a question for Madison, if you would like to come forward. How long have you been doing this, where you're saving eggs?
I only got the permit last April, so not very long. Last year I was able to rescue just under 200 ducklings. So excited to see how this year goes.
And you generally do that around your area where you live?
Yeah, we're trying to kind of stick to a driving distance radius, but I would love to in the future maybe have more volunteers that would help transport eggs and maybe even start them in other locations if it proves to be successful.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about the incubation and how you do all this.
I actually have a very big incubator that I got partially donated by one of the best incubator manufacturers in the country, and it holds about 700 eggs. So it's pretty automated. I don't really have to do much, but the eggs are put in little turning trays. They go back and forth about every 40 minutes, which keeps the embryo from sticking to the shell. And once they're about 3 to 4 days from hatching, I move them to a hatcher. I can candle them and actually see inside the eggs, so I know about how far along they are. Once they hatch, then I end up putting them in little brooders, usually groups of like 10 ducklings. And then I'll move them all outside to grow up pens with water and that kind of thing. So
And how long do you have to have them in the incubator? What's the time period for a duckling?
Depends on the type of duck. Teal are like 24 days. Mallards and those kind are more like 28 days. So it depends on the species, but and also when I get them, because a lot of the time the eggs are very close to hatching when the fields are hayed. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Senator Voigt.
I could.
Yeah.
What a gem you are, Madison. I just need to seek your counsel. Have you done anything with, I'm in the migratory pattern for geese, and we have some, what they call honkers, large geese, actually stay and nest in that area. Have you come across nesting of, say, large Canadians and try to do anything with those?
Well, Canada geese are covered under my federal permit because they're migratory waterfowl. If someone calls me with eggs or goslings, I can legally take them and then raise and release them. The ducks are obviously the main focus, but yeah, any waterfowl would be covered. And it can also be expanded later if the need would arise for shorebirds and those kind of things that nest in fields also.
Good follow-up.
Follow-up, go ahead.
What about non-waterfowl, everything from doves to pheasants to grouse?
Well, the way the amendment is written, it would allow me to also take any essentially huntable birds within the state, as far as I'm hearing it. And so I'd be able to take pheasants, grouse, those kind of things, and then also raise and release them.
Another follow-up. You're working with waterfowl. When you release them, a big challenge with they're really susceptible to predators. Do you release them so they can access water right away? Because basically that's their protection.
Yeah, I release them. It has to be on private property as per the regulations of my federal permit. But I try and pick somewhat small marshes with adequate cover, adequate food supply. I release them around 6 to 8 weeks old, just before they can fly, actually, because then they don't all fly and scatter. They stay in a group, and there's strength in numbers, obviously. So then they kind of learn to fly together. They get in with wild birds. I'm hoping to be able to band them, hopefully this year. Probably not quite yet, but then I'll be able to collect data. The California Waterfowl Association does ban their waterfowl, and they've proven that the success rate is almost as high as wild reared waterfowl in their released birds.
Thank you.
Further questions of the committee? Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. That's quite amazing. As a duck hunter, I'm very, very happy to hear what you're doing. So.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on from questions and move to committee discussion and or action.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Jensen.
I would move do pass on 1265 as amended.
We have a do pass motion from Senator Jensen as amended, second from Senator Voigt. Comments on your motion?
Yeah, this is she is running an incredible program, and with this bill she'll be able to expand. I know from talking to them they have many requests to get pheasant eggs or prairie chicken eggs, and up to this point she has not been able to do those legally, and I know she has it because she won't break the law. But anyway, this to me it ties a little bit into the nest predator bill that we talked about earlier, because I'm sure that there's probably very few predators in the area where they're releasing because of that program. But anyway, I just commend the Grims for bringing this, and I will say if you've hunted ducks or waterfowl for very many years, you've carried Mr. Grimm's picture in your wallet for at least 3 years. No, that's all. Thank you.
Further comments on the do pass motion? Senator Voigt.
If I could follow up, in terms of what the future looks like for you, in terms of accessing those that have given access of the private lands to public lands where there's water. Water can be very temporary, especially sloughs and that type of stuff. It dries up on them, and then they're left out there hanging, and they don't survive. So you've got to be near water that is sustained. It can't be rough water. It's kind of a geography thing. You got to find the right environment for. But I think there are probably many opportunities out there in terms of private landowners that are using that for public access, and you could certainly expand upon that significantly.
Thank you, Senator Voigt. Further comments on the do pass motion? Seeing none, one thing I would just add is that yes, I do have Mr. Grimm's painting in my billfold. I've had it for the last 3 years as well, and every year since I've been 12 years old, I've had a waterfowl stamp, and so does Secretary Roebling. So, and with that, I will ask the Secretary to please call the roll.
Senators Davis,
Aye.
Duhamel, excused. Marty.
Aye.
Voigt.
Aye.
Whiff.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Pischke.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, we have 6 yeas and 1 excused.
Thank you, Mrs. Secretary. That motion, having received the affirmative vote of the members-elect, will move to the floor with a due pass recommendation.
Unknown caller.
Whoa. Penalty.
There's a penalty.
Yep.
We'll get some pizza for that. If there's, I don't know if we want to have that consent, or if you'd like to talk about that on the floor, Senator. I think it's kind of a cool story, but I know we.
I plan to introduce them today on the floor.
Well, it won't be obviously the bill won't be on the floor today, but I'm just wondering if you want to talk about that bill on the floor. I just think it's kind of cool, but if not, we can move it to consent.
Consent is fine.
Okay, we'll put that on the consent calendar then. Okay, and so that concludes our business for today. If there's nothing else for the good of the committee, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Senator Whiff. Second from Senator Davis. Comments on the motion? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned.
As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB.